Previous chapters we saw how to gather information from another remote host. However, we did not take anonymity into consideration. Now this time we will try to be more stealth. Okay. So we got our Kali Linux machine over here. I called mine Alice. Let's right click on it and go to settings. And in here you can say the name. We are going to have an Alice and a Bob virtual machines. Okay. And on network, you'll have something like this one. This is by default what you'll have. And you'll need to change it to internal network. And you can name it wherever you like. I mean, I just like the Matrix, the movie, so I choose Zion, but you can name it whatever you want as long as it has the same name both on Alice and on Bob, because they are using the same internal network and they need to know what the internal network name is. Okay, so name goes to Alice, network, internal network as Zion, and now right click on Alice and go to clone. Okay, and as I said, we'll go here for Bob. Check this. So there's a different MAC address for Bob, and right click and click on clone. This will take some time. Okay, now I'm going to explain you what we are going to do. We are going to use the two virtual machines, Alice and Bob, and we are going to scan the network with the Alice machine. At first the Alice machine will find Bob's machine, but then we are going to do some configuration and we are going to make Bob invisible to this arp-scan from Alice. Okay. Also, the scan that we will do from Alice will be with the spoofed IP, so it will not be the real Alice IP address. When it's done, just start both virtual machines. Also, there are some settings that we need to change when the spoof starts. So this is Alice, this is Bob, cool with it. And let's wait for them to load. This is a tool that comes by default with Kali Linux, so there's no need to download anything. Login in both, root door, TOOR. And just to, let's keep a lookout over here on Bob. We are running on the terminal TCP dump, so we see everything that Bob is receiving. Okay, TCP dump E201. Okay, so we got TCP dump running right over here on Bob. Now back on, no, so sorry, probably you'll have this different. You will not have your, it's good practice to do this. As you can see, yeah, config. Yours will most likely be different. Okay, so you will not have an IP address because by default Kali is using DHCP. Okay, so click on over here, wired connected, wired settings, and on the clock IP, you'll have this one enabled. Switch to this one. Okay, link local only, apply. Do this on both machines. Okay, I already did it, so that's why I'm already connected and it's running fine. Clock, and here on link local only. Okay, it will run just fine. Now if when you run this command, you'll see that Alice has this IP address and Bob has this one. Okay, and let's just make sure that they can both communicate. Let's ping Bob. Yep, okay. As a response, you can see that both machines can communicate. At least Alice can send packets to Bob, okay? And this is what we want. Now, over here on Bob, let's enable TCP dump. This fetches all the data that's coming through the network, and this is what we want because we want to see what Alice is up to. Now, we are going to do a scan on the network, on the IP range, and we are trying to find Bob. So this, I'll just clear this arp-scan. Over on the interface with the one, this is the interface that we are using. This is the default interface. Okay. And the range will go from, this is Bob's IP address, okay? We want to use Bob's range to 69.254.255, okay? So we'll go from here to here. And also we are spoofing our IP address. We are going to say that our IP address will be something like the value 1. That's normally the gateway, so it's not that much suspicious, okay? You can also set an interval. I'm not going to use it because it takes more time to perform the scan, and that's not what I'm looking for. So let's hope that, and there you go. As you can see, shots have been fired. Now, we managed to find Bob, okay? This is Bob's IP address. However, over here on Bob, as you can see, there's an ARP request who has all the IP ranges that we set it. And however, who's telling this is this IP address, and as you know, this is not true because our IP address it's this one. As you can see, we managed to spoof the IP address of the arp-scan. Okay, this is a good way to go stealth. So we are using a spoofed IP address by issuing ARP queries for an IP range. Okay. Now, imagine that you are on the Bob machine and you don't want Alice to find about you. So you don't want that when Alice does this, she will be able to find Bob. Okay, so as you remember on the previous lesson, we did disable ARP replies. However, this time we are going to, no, sorry, on the previous lesson we set the ARP to be ignored. Now we are going to disable it because, as you can see, it's not really working as we want to. And to do this, we'll go for 8. Instead of a 2, we'll go for an 8. And we'll set ARP ignore. If we set them as 8, okay. Let's see. Oops. My bad. Okay. Now let's clear this. And we can still run the TCP dump. I mean, it will detect some ARP calls. Or let's see if this time if Alice manages to detect Bob. And as you can see, it did not. There's still some data flow. However, and since we set that Bob completely ignores the ARP replies, Alice did not manage to find Bob over here on the network. So Bob just became a little bit more stealth on the network.